أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear Mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our efforts in this holy month of Ramadan, our prayers, our fasting, our acts of charity, and make us amongst those who gain taqwa in this month of Ramadan in its real sense, fast in the real meaning of fasting, and gain the real rewards of the fasting ones. As the hadith says, fasting as-sawmu li, and therefore it is only God who can reward and rewards the fasting ones. Inshallah, we will gain our rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We spoke about the real fasting being beyond our physical level of fasting or sawm, meaning the hunger and thirst or the fasting of the stomach. And I shared with Mu'mineen and Mu'minat the hadith from Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi afdal as-salawat wa tahiyyat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala, where he says, Siyamul qalbi khayrun, aw sawmul qalbi khayrun min siyamil lisan, wa sawmul lisani khayrun min siyamil batn, wa sawmul lisani khayrun min siyam al-batn. Therefore, the hierarchy is that the highest level of fasting is the fasting of the heart, sawm al-qalb. And then after that is the fasting of the limbs, the most significant one being the tongue. And we spoke about it in the last few nights, because it is the tongue that has more power than any other part of our body. Sadly enough, there are still people who think if you don't do something physical to somebody, you have not caused harm to them, or it's not much harm, when in reality the real harm is through the words. In fact, it is the words express what is in the heart, and this is why they hurt the most. I often tell Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, if a child is scolded by a parent with an ear rub, the ear rub here represents disappointment, represents some sort of punishment. The child is extremely upset, might be in tears, because they were told certain words or the action which speaks of that emotion. However, if the same child falls and hurt themselves much harder than the ear rub, they may not be in tears, because it's not somebody doing or having that emotion towards them. Therefore, the word that we speak, they speak of a state of the heart and the state of the mind. That is why they're so effective. And that is why the most significant limb in our body when it comes to the physical body is lisan, because of its ability to express what's in the mind and in the heart. Not because it can do anything special, some special exercise or physical exercise. No, it's because the ability to speak is through the lisan, to express. Now somebody could do it through a text nowadays, or through a message or letter, whatever it may be. But mostly what we're referring to here is the expression, whether you write it, type it, or say it. Obviously, when you say it, it's more effective because there is also the body language and the rest of the aura around it that affects how the words would affect us. So coming back to the levels, the fasting of the stomach is significant. More important, the lisan, we spoke of it the last few nights. The highest level is the fasting of the heart, Sawmul Qalb. And Sawmul Qalb has many dimensions, and I will try and cover them in the next few nights, inshallah. The fasting of the heart, if that expression is correct, because fasting in English automatically refers to abstaining from food and drink, so it's Sawmul Batn, but we're borrowing that term, and therefore we are using Sawm as in fasting as in Sawm, and here the heart being basically the control of the heart not to be in a state of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it's the heart that drives the limbs, it's the heart that drives the tongue. We spoke earlier, the tongue is expressing what's in the heart and on the mind of a person. It is the heart ultimately that is expressed through the words. It is the heart that drives the actions. It is the heart that drives the intentions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards by the intentions, does not punish. This is the amazing fact about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not punish by intentions, but we need to be careful about that, and inshallah we'll discuss why we need to purify our intentions. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam in Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, the honorable levels of akhlaq, he says, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asks God to purify, help him to purify his intention, tasheeh, to somehow reform and purify his intentions, and also magnify them, make them more frequent for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the heart is what drives those intentions. Our intentions ultimately are caused by what's in our heart and mind, our emotions, our feelings. Therefore we have intentions. When those intentions are strong, niyyah is strong, it is referred to as azima. It is a niyyah with the plan for action, azama. This is why, for example, in the Holy Quran, one of the, in fact, concepts that is considered, it is basically, it necessitates a lot of intention, a lot of strong intention, is the concept of talaq, for example, divorce. He says, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتُمْ, if you have that azima, strong intention, it takes a lot to, in fact, bring about that kind of a decision. And when that does come, it requires strong will to maintain, in fact. Nonetheless, good or bad, that's a different discussion. That's not our topic of discussion. I'm trying to get to the term. Azima is caused by a strong intention. All of that starts from the heart. So if we control the heart, we can control the intentions and the very strong wills that stem from our intentions with plan of action, basically, azima. All of that can be in fact driven by the heart, either positively or negatively. This is why Sawm al-Qalb is the highest. In fact, we would not be able to fast Sawm al-Batn without Sawm al-Qalb. What do I mean? If one does not have the very basic level of the control of the heart in terms of temptations, they would not be able to fast. Do the sawm, the basic fasting of the food and drink and other desires that become forbidden during the day in the month of Ramadan. One would not be able to do it if their heart is not there. If his or her heart is not there, the intention won't be there. And if the intention is not there, the strong will not be there. Azima will not be there. And if azima, fasting requires azima in fact. Fasting for some people requires planning. Some people, if they don't do suhoor, they cannot fast. In fact, I often tell people, sometimes they say younger children, it's difficult for them, especially younger girls when they get to the age of puberty, or girls or boys, regardless, it's harder for them. Or some people, if they're working, I tell them, condition number one, do you make an effort to get up for suhoor? Because according to the hadith, one who has to suhoor would be able to fast their life. Every day, if they have their suhoor, they can fast their day. Obviously, that is there are exceptions to every rule. If somebody is unwell, has certain perhaps diseases, problems, that's a different story. But generally speaking, if somebody does get up for suhoor, has a suhoor, they should be able to fast. If they don't do that, if they don't make that happen, if they don't make that effort, they won't be able to fast. That effort comes with azima, obviously, especially getting up at that time of the night, the best sleep, yes? The best sleep is closer to Fajr. And that is in fact the most rewarding rising. If you rise at that time and pray at that time and recite dua at that time, dua as-sahar, and also even in the month of Ramadan, even eating at that time is recommended. Eating the suhoor, even if it's just a date, a little bit of water and date if you don't feel like having a heavy meal. Some people aren't used to it. Regardless, that time to get up requires a strong will. That's azim. It comes from a heart. If the heart is not there, we won't be able to do the very basic fasting of the body. The basic fasting of the actual stomach, abstination of food and drinking. It all starts with the basic, the strong will from the heart to, in fact, make the decision that I want to fast. The heart goes beyond simple acts of worship. If we let the heart loose and let it go after the worldly desires, the heart could lead to destruction. People could drive themselves to destruction if they do not use their intellect and do not use guidance, divine guidance, in making their decisions and controlling their heart. If, on the other hand, we use our intellect and divine guidance, aql, this is why one of the most beautiful creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He describes in a hadith Qudsi that it's the best of my creation is aql, intellect. It is able to analyze and fight all sorts of temptations and desires in order to do the right thing. And aql, the real aql, is not one that's controlled by desires. This is why Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, Al-aqlu ma ubida bihi ar-Rahman wa iktusiba bihi al-jinan. Aql is one that leads to worshipping of God and earning paradise. They said to him, there are a lot of people that are smart. We think of them as smart. The example they gave is Muawiyah, la'natullah alayh. People consider him as a smart person. He could lead a whole country or a whole state against the Khalifa and the Imam of his time and drive thousands and thousands of people to war, to the point that 70 or plus thousand Muslims died in that war. He could do all that, manipulate people and do all that. Obviously he has some level of what we consider intellect. What Islam and Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to as aql and the hadith refers to as aql is not that. The Imam corrected them. He says it looks like aql, but it's not aql. Because aql is in control of one's emotions. Why? What is the motive to drive all these Muslim people to war? For him, perhaps it was a position, to gain position and power, worldly position and power. Is that part of the insan, a human being who's conscious of their journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is that part of the animal being that is territorial and possessive? If our actions, if our analysis are based on our body and our animal being and what we want for this world, if this is our analysis, then those analyses are not aql. They're not real aql. Aql is beyond this world. Aql recognizes that we live, the eternal life is after death. Therefore, focuses on that and makes sure that we are doing the right thing for our journey after death and the hereafter. What I'm trying to say, mu'mineen and mu'minat, my dear brothers and sisters, if we do not control the qalb with divine revelation, with guidance from the Prophet and his progeny, and with the real aql, and our analysis should be of the aql based on how far is the vision, short-sighted or long-sighted. Are we looking up to death, or are we looking beyond that? Are we looking for the few years of retirement if we ever get to it, so we take shortcuts to make sure that we're good in this time, and we're going to retire in a nice mansion and whatever else, that's all what matters? Or are we looking at what's going to happen after, which could happen sooner than later? Allahu A'lam, when our time comes. And therefore, again, when we assess aql, it has to be beyond this world. Al-aqlu ma ubida bihi ar-Rahman. Is my aql assessing things based on the obedience of God and the earning of nearness to God in the hereafter in paradise, or is it limited to this world? This is the assessment of aql. The qalb, the heart, should be controlled by our aql, by revelation, by Quran and the hadith from the Prophet ﷺ and his progeny, Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'in. All of that should be in control to make sure our aql is pure and purifies. That is why, make sure our qalb here, I'm referring to the qalb, is pure and purified. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On a day that neither your children nor your wealth will benefit you, the only thing that benefits is a pure heart, a good heart. This is why the ayah says, winners or victorious are those who purify their nafs. Nafs and heart are interchangeable. And the losers are those who destroy, betray their nafs and their heart. And therefore, if we do not constantly and continuously purify and make sure our qalb is pure through Siyamul Qalb, and inshallah in the coming nights we'll discuss how do we do Siyamul Qalb, the fasting of the heart. If we don't do that, we, God forbid, could be amongst the losers. Wal-ayadu billah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us purify the heart from all of the diseases of the heart, and purify our minds and actions and reactions. We ask Him to make us amongst those who listen to what's said and follow what's best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli.